What is up, everybody? Good morning and welcome back to another spectating video. Today we are going to be taking a look at this guy, Isack, playing Rocket. This was actually something that was requested in one of the comments, so let's just get right into the replay and get this going. I'll try and squeeze in a couple Rocket tips and tricks, things that I've noticed while I've been watching this replay, as well as doing the usual play-by-play of the game state and all of that. Okay, let's skip ahead here. Switch to Rocket, and we are going to be on attack first. As you can see, we do have a Punisher on our team as well, so that is definitely a situation where I would probably play Rocket if I see there's a Punisher or a Bucky one-trick on my team. This is probably my go-to healer. I know a lot of people are a little bit discouraged by Rocket at this point, but we'll get into that a little bit later after this first fight goes. So he goes through the portal, drops his res beacon immediately, and then starts pumping healing orbs into this upstairs room over here, making sure that those orbs are touching as many allies as they can. Drops the damage amp right here. His Punisher actually gets hooked by Bucky and is unfortunately taken out on the point. So they are down one because his res beacon was already consumed by the Hawkeye, I believe. Sorry, I'll move my cursor. I keep forgetting that that's in the screen. Thank you for whoever left that comment. I apologize if that ever happens again. Yeah, anyway, back to the fight. So they're just kind of sitting in this weird point where they are, I think, like 3 or 4 v6. They're not getting a whole lot of value here. His Invisible Woman is actually taken out as well, so they're just in this awkward spot where if I was in this situation, I wouldn't know whether or not I should just die or keep fighting for the point. But they opt to keep fighting. Squirrel Girl and Strange doing a lot of work. Squirrel Girl unfortunately taken out, but Dr. Strange lives. He does drop his res beacon here in a little bit of an aggressive spot. I believe it is, he reactivates to make sure the cooldown does not go crazy, and then dashes back to the people that have been respawned. Drops the infinite ammo on his Punisher, and they're able to get a little bit of pressure from the other side of the fight. So able to get some 2 pretty good ticks here. Almost get the third, and then Bucky ults in and pushes them off of point. You'll notice as we go through this replay again, he will try and keep 2 to 3, if not more, people in his sight lines as he's lobbing these orbs, making sure that those orbs tag as many of his allies as he can. They will heal a prescribed amount, though. The Storm ults here, and his team is just going to get kind of run down a little bit. Storm gets 2, gets 3. He reses the Hawkeye, but they take out his other healer, and he just has to back up. So, if you didn't know, these orbs are a set healing over time amount as well. So, tagging people with more orbs is not going to do any more healing. It's just going to refresh that existing healing over time effect on the target. So, you are effectively healing capped to a certain point. So, keep that in mind as you're playing Rocket. And hopefully your team keeps that in mind when you're playing Rocket too, because if they're just taking too much damage, it might be unhealable. I think a lot of people are very, very quick to flame healers, especially like Rocket, Mantis, that sort of thing, because they are just not doing enough healing. In reality, they might just be taking too much damage, truly. If you have both the healing over time effects on you, and you are still just getting absolutely rocked, you need to play some cover. Like, you need to stand behind a tank, you need to play some cover, you know, do something like that. So, and as you can see, we just pop Rocket ult. Strange keeps the rest of his team safe, and they're able to just walk into this point. He goes up to high ground, stays a little bit safe, sees his Punisher is ulted, and makes sure that he has orbs floating all over the Punisher to try and keep him alive as much as possible. He can get as much damage as he can. They take out the Loki there, who was storm ulting, and he dashes to safety once again, pumping healing orbs into at least 2 members of his team, and they're able to get the clean ace, run this Bucky down here. So yeah, I think that's something that people don't do, that I notice a little bit more in higher elo spectating than I do in maybe like gold or below, I would say. A lot of these players play cover pretty well. I think a lot of people forget that that's a mechanic in hero shooters specifically. You know, if you play COD or Fortnite or something, cover is a very, very big part of how you play those games. But in hero shooters, people just kind of run it down, and you know, healers heal, tanks will tank, damage will do damage, and there's no cover in sight. So definitely make sure you are giving your team time to top you off. You can see that the Punisher and the Mantis back up towards cover there, as does Dr. Strange, to make sure that they are full HP, and they're able to actually get topped off and live this Storm ult a little bit more effectively. And they're able to take out the enemy Storm, get a little bit more pressure here. So The other thing to note is that when you play Rocket, it's going to feel a little bit different. You can see he damage amps his entire team here, and they're able to get a lot of pressure off of this ult. The Doctor Strange should ult here in a second as well, so they'll be able to take this initial point very, very easily. Yeah, gets a great Eye of Agamotto there, and they're able to 6-0 the enemy team. But Rocket players will not be doing a lot of damage. You'll see their healing meters go kind of crazy, but they will not be doing a whole lot of damage, and people get really hung up on scoreboards in this game. So keep that in mind. Not everything is a scoreboard competition. A lot of your value as Rocket is going to be getting those key reses, making sure that your team is able to keep that momentum, keeping your teammate top so they can play confident, they can play up in people's faces, create that space for the cart, and then damage amp your whole team, maybe even during some key ults. Damage boosting the Punisher, infinite ammoing the Punisher, if you have a Bucky, doing that to him as well. There's a lot of things that Rocket does contribute to the team, so don't get hung up on scoreboards if you're not doing as much damage. You know, you are doing damage, it's just not reflected in your number. So his Storm ults, their Mantis does ult as well to kind of counter, and they're just backing up here. He does actually blow his ult here I probably would have saved it just because it looked like they were losing the fight super hard, but his Psylocke actually sees the opportunity and goes absolutely massive here. Gets a nice little two-piece. His Storm gets one as well, and they're able to run down the Mantis and the Cloak and Dagger and turn what it looked to be a losing fight into a really, really big win as they round this corner. This is one of the harder chokes to get through in the game, so making sure that you get a little bit of momentum coming into this is very, very important. Drops the infinite ammo for the Punisher there. His Doctor Strange tries to drop portals on the enemy's spawn. Unfortunately, the enemy is still able to kind of get out of here. They do have access to Mantis ult and Punisher ult, both of which are popped, but they just usher in the payload and just take the point because the enemy doesn't touch. So, great first round, honestly. Great first round, pretty dominant performance. Sorry I was kind of preaching a little bit more about Rocket there, and not doing as much play-by-play. But I think that is something that is very, very important when you're playing this character. You will get a lot of people that are kind of wondering where your damage is, or, you know, that sort of thing, or just assuming that you can heal them through everything. You don't have those big burst cooldowns like Luna, like Mantis. You are really keeping your team alive in the interim. And if that's the case too, if there really is just too much damage on the enemy team for you to heal through, that's when you can consider swapping characters for that game. If you need a character like Luna with higher burst healing when you pop her left shift, if you need that ult where you cannot die pretty much for that entire duration, that's definitely something you want to consider too. So, has his res beacon in this room, but as they fight a little bit more and more, he opts to move his res beacon to the place behind him so he can just stand on high ground, pump orbs into, again, 3 or 4 targets, getting a lot of value out of those. Staying safe over here. And if you actually activate your beacon or reactivate it or cancel it or whatever you want to call it, it will go on a much shorter cooldown than if someone destroys it. So he reactivates it there in order to move it, put it on a little bit of a shorter cooldown, and move it into the room over there where he actually wants it. You can also do that too when, like, if an assassin or a backliner or something like that gets on your res beacon and they're about to destroy it, you can always just reactivate it. It will go on a much shorter cooldown than if they destroy it. If they destroy it, it should go on like a 40-second cooldown or 30 seconds or something like that. So keep that in mind. The enemy team is pushing towards point, but he actually sees his Punisher playing this bridge up here. The enemy Mantis does ult, but his Punisher is able to, with the help of that infinite ammo and increased fire rate, take out the Moon Knight because he is not in the Mantis ult, and the enemy team is down 1, so down 1 DPS especially, so they're able to confidently heal their team up through all of this damage. Mantis and Rocket being good healers that just top off allies. And they are sitting on 5 ults to the enemy's 3 with just under 2 minutes on the clock. Sitting in a very, very good spot. Again, throws his res beacon down in a safe spot, but nowhere too far away, so it can still be in range of his teammates. His Storm ults with that damage boost, and they absolutely mop a couple members of the enemy team. Unfortunately, the Storm is taken out, but the Mantis and the Moon Knight, the enemy Storm, and the enemy Bucky do follow suit, and they get a nice little stagger on the enemy team. As you can see, the Storm has like 7 seconds left as people are spawning. So, very dominant fight, very good use of the damage boost with a Storm ult. and now they're just kind of waiting for the enemy to show up. And they've wasted about 20 seconds, 30 seconds almost. So almost a minute left just holding this first point, and they are feeling pretty confident at this point, I would imagine. They still have access to that res, they still have access to the infinite ammo, so as long as Punisher stays safe, he will be able to pump here. Throws down the infinite ammo to the Punisher and makes sure that his sight line reflects that as well. So he's trying to shoot all of these orbs through the Punisher and hit other targets with them as well, making sure the Punisher stays alive for the full duration of that infinite ammo team up. His Invisible Woman ults the enemy Storm ult, so they should just be able to sit in here and heal through it completely. This is the only situation where you will see him use his minigun pretty consistently because there is no need for him to heal. His whole team is standing in that Invisible Woman ult. Moves his res since the enemy have switched their position a little bit. Moves it up to high ground so that it can stay a little bit safer. And again, Storm staggers herself pretty heavily there. And they're able to just kind of sit here and hang out. They won that fight pretty handily with the help of Invisible Woman ult and Punisher ult. They have tons of damage output. And now the enemy is just going to go and portal once again into this room. His Doctor Strange quickly goes up there to high ground and ults them, pushing them back, and they're not even able to get that touch. But that fight, I think, would have gone pretty in their favor as well, keeping them all on that staircase with the infinite ammo Punisher just shredding into them. So I know there wasn't a whole lot to necessarily talk about the actual gameplay of Rocket, but he does do a great job of topping his team off, making sure that he's positioned well to stay alive, doesn't die at all this game, and making sure that he has access to that res beacon to res teammates that get maybe caught out or something like that. As you can see, he does a good amount of healing here as well. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but he does amp his team a lot. You can see that his team's damage numbers are a little bit crazy. All of them are over 10k, some of them are over 15k, and it's nowhere even close. So I hope you guys learned something from this video today. If there's any characters you want me to spectate next, any players you want me to spectate next, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Like the video if you liked it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.